Coming up on this Monday edition of Daybreak, in yet another show of force against the ongoing joint South Korea-US military drills, North Korea fires 25 short-range missiles into the East Sea. The main opposition Democratic Party and maverick lawmaker Ahn Cheol-soo begin the formal groundwork for a new coalition party to be launched later this month. Plus, exit polls show more than 90% of voters in Crimea back leaving Ukraine. Crimea's leader says a formal request to join Russia will be made on Monday. Daybreak begins now. Thanks very much for joining us. To all our viewers here in Korea and around the world, it's 6 a.m. on Monday, March 17th here in Seoul. You're watching Daybreak, and I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning, yet another provocation from North Korea. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff says North Korea fired a total of 25 short-range rockets into the East Sea on Sunday. The rockets, believed to have a range of 70 kilometers, were launched between 6:20 p.m. and 9:32 p.m. Korea time from nearby the North's Wonsan along the east coast. Officials in Seoul believe the rockets used were Soviet-made surface-to-surface frogs, which lack precision but are very powerful. The South Korean military has strengthened its surveillance and is urging the North to stop heightening tensions. These launches are the latest in a series of military provocations by the North in protest against Seoul and Washington's ongoing annual military drills. Now, despite many bumps and standstills along the way, the Inter-Korean Joint Industrial Complex in Kaesong is operating at around 95% capacity. But trouble could be brewing as North Korea is demanding a 10% raise for its workers at the complex. The South Kaesong Industrial District Management Committee says Pyongyang wants a 5% hike in pay for March, followed by another 5% raise in August. The two sides originally agreed to limit annual increases in pay to a maximum of 5%. The Management Committee says it will discuss the matter with South Korean companies in Kaesong on Wednesday. A new political party is in the process of being born here in Korea. The main opposition Democratic Party and independent lawmaker Ahn Cheol-soo's political group held a ceremony in Seoul on Sunday to forge consensus over guidelines, platforms and key rules for the new party, which is slated to launch next week. Our National Assembly correspondent Ji Myung-gil reports.
Democratic Party leader Kim Hang-gil and independent lawmaker Ahn Cheol-soo of the New Political Vision Party had given their coalition a name. Both say the 새정치민주연합 Party will match their shared vision to shake up Korean politics and improve the livelihoods of the people. The name was adopted at an inaugural ceremony at the Sejong Center in central Seoul on Sunday, where the two lawmakers outlined their visions for the new opposition party in front of some 400 supporters. The 새정치민주연합 Party's co-leaders promised the new party represents a new era in politics.
The 새정치민주연합 Party will work towards integrating the regions and overcoming factionalism. Our new party will deliver hope to the people and work in the interest of everyone.
The 새정치민주연합 will embrace the ideologies of rational conservatives and introspective progressives. We will work towards improving the lives of the general public. We will win in the June 4th local elections and then win the presidential race in 2017.
The new party will work toward abolishing a controversial top-down nomination system, which has given rise to bribery in the past as candidates elbowed for openings. Both leaders pledged to root out irregularities in the public sector and address welfare issues to improve the livelihoods of the people. Referring to President Park Geun-hye's economic democratization push, the new party urged the current administration to rein in conglomerates and create a level playing field for both large and small firms. The 새정치민주연합 Party plans to announce its English name sometime this week. The two sides have formed a task force composed of an equal number of members from both the DP members and An's group. Now that the new party's name and identity has been decided, they will focus on winning the June 4th local elections. Kim Hyung, Arirang News.
The most recent entrant into the race to become the next mayor of Seoul has laid out his vision. In a news conference Sunday, former Prime Minister Kim Hyung-sik said that Seoul is a vibrant city, but one overshadowed by a high suicide rate, a record number of traffic deaths and other ills in society. Kim, who served as PM under former President Lee Myung-bak, pledged to turn the capital into a city that saves lives.
I, Kim Hyung-sik, as the mayor of Seoul, will make sure the people are happy. I will change and evolve Seoul for the better. That is my responsibility. I owe it to the people and this country. That is why I embark on this journey without hesitation.
Kim is competing against two others, multi-term lawmaker Jung Mong-jun and Saenuri Party Supreme Council member Lee Hae-hoon, seeking the Saenuri Party's nomination as the Seoul mayor candidate. The winner will take on incumbent Park Won-soon in June. Now, President Park, who embarks on a state visit to Germany next week, is widely expected to lay out her plan for the two Koreas' reunification. Citing sources, Seoul-based Yonhap News says President Park could possibly deliver a message during her four-day trip starting March 25th. She will likely say the foundation for her reunification policy will mirror Germany's unification. President Park will either give her speech in Berlin or in Dresden, where former German Chancellor Helmut Kohl declared his unification goals in 1989. Since referring to benefits from a united Korea as a bonanza in January, President Park has been pushing for a nationwide discussion on reunification. A presidential preparatory committee on reunification will also be launched next month. Now, have the right conditions finally been set for summit talks between Korean President Park Geunhye and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe? President Park is dropping hints that a meeting may happen sooner rather than later. When asked her reaction to Abe's recent pledge to stand by the Kono statement, President Park said it was, quote, fortunate. The 1993 statement apologizes for the sexual enslavement of Korean and Chinese women during World War II. The Japanese daily Sankei Shimbun points out it's the first time President Park has responded positively to any of Abe's comments on historical issues. The two leaders may meet for talks on the sidelines of the Nuclear Security Summit at The Hague on March 24th or 25th. President Park and Abe haven't had a face-to-face meeting since both leaders took office more than 1 year ago. Newly discovered US war documents suggest the Japanese military's use of sex slaves during the Second World War was systematic. Korea's Yonhap News Agency says the proof is in declassified documents they obtained through the US National Archives and Records Administration. They show that American authorities had found that sex slaves were categorized as, quote, amenities by the Japanese military during the war. Yonhap News says this proves that the use of sex slaves was organized. China is stepping up efforts to modernize its military with a stated aim of becoming a digital military power. Beijing is expected to pour 1/3 of its defense budget into developing and purchasing new weapons. Our Kim Min-ji has the details.
Type 052D destroyers, a class of guided missile. Type 054A frigates, a class of multi-role warship, and nuclear submarines. These are just some of the most up-to-date weapons China plans to buy or build this year. According to British military journal Jane's Defense Weekly, China is expected to spend $37.5 billion purchasing and developing new weapons this year. This is roughly 30% of China's defense budget. In line with plans to modernize its air force, China will purchase combat aircraft to enhance its counter-air ability. Earlier this month, China said it would increase its military budget by over 12% this year to almost $132 billion.
With the introduction of a modern combat aircraft, China will be able to enhance its counter ability in case of a collision with enemy forces.
China's move is seen to be spurred by its territorial dispute with Japan in the East China Sea. China also wants to become the dominant military presence in the Asia-Pacific region. The country's defense budget is currently second only to the United States. Experts say China's investment in new weapons will help transform it into a digital military that meets the levels of the U.S. and Japan. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with Daybreak.
Korea's first ever International Electric Vehicle Expo is currently underway on Jeju Island. Many automakers believe electric cars are beginning to have a much stronger presence in the market, especially right here in Korea. And now Hyung reports.
They are quiet, eco-friendly, and cost-efficient. Industry watchers say electric vehicles, or EVs, are approaching a tipping point. Automakers are producing cars that run entirely on battery power and are now aiming these vehicles squarely at the mass market. The only thing standing before the mass commercialization of EVs is the required infrastructure.
Investment into charging infrastructure needs to be made before the market can expand. The government's support for electric and eco-friendly cars will help boost sales.
In fact, the Korean government has been and is still pushing to ensure there are more electric cars on the nation's roads. Up until last year, you had to live in one of the 10 cities chosen by the government to receive subsidies for EVs, but that regulation is expected to be lifted soon. The government continues to provide subsidies for those purchasing electric cars like the one I'm driving right now, and including various tax benefits and other incentives. This year you could get up to $22,000 in subsidies, and that will make electric vehicles a little bit more price affordable and attractive for customers. The world's major automakers are speaking with one voice in their push to provide zero-emission solutions around the world. The commercial director of Renault's EV program says Korea's customer dynamic is a plus to its market potential.
What is wonderful in Korea is that the customers don't have a lot of resistances. They are very open to innovation, they are very open to new technologies, and they accept to go very quickly there. So we still think that 10% of the market in 2020 is a realistic target for EV.
Electric cars have been around for decades, but automakers have never been as excited about their mass appeal and viability as they are now. With investment pouring into enhancing battery technology, market watchers say competition in the EV market in Korea is just getting started. 나현경, Arirang News.
The Korean government is trying to register ondol, a common type of underfloor heating found in Korean housing, on a UNESCO as a UNESCO World Cultural Heritage. The Land Ministry said Sunday that the government had formed a research group to make headway into the commercial application of ondol around the world. Medical research is also underway to find out more about its potential health benefits. Ondol was originally used by burning wood, but modern homes are now built with heating pipes embedded under the floor. Captain America, Iron Man and the Black Widow will be fighting the good fight against evil in a theatre near you soon. But even before the Avengers sequel opens in cinemas around the world, Koreans will be the first to see these superheroes in the flesh, as the movie will be partially filmed in and around Seoul. Paul Lee reports.
Hollywood is coming to Korea. Filming for Avengers Age of Ultron will take place in and around Seoul from March 30th to mid-April. Marvel Studios and the Korean Film Commission, along with the Korea Tourism Organization, have agreed to shoot some sequences of the film here in the capital. Seoul is expected to be featured for about 20 minutes of the 2-hour movie. The locations include several bridges on the Hangang River, such as the Chamsil and Mapo-daegu bridges, as well as some street scenes in upscale areas. Sangam and Yongsan, where a U.S. military base is located, are also listed as shooting locations. The related film bodies and the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency are currently discussing ways to minimize inconveniences for local citizens, as the areas listed will have to be blocked off during shooting, for which the studio plans to spend roughly $10 million. Experts say the sequel is expected to bring in promotional effects worth some $2 billion for Korea once it is released in the summer of 2015. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
Now, voting has wrapped up in Crimea on its referendum to join Russia. The exit poll numbers are out, so let's now turn to our Eunice Kim at the News Centre for the provisional results. Eunice, not a huge surprise here. The overwhelming majority say they want to break away from Ukraine and join Russia.
Right. Good morning, Mark. Polls closed just about 4 hours ago, and moments later we heard of those exit poll results. And as expected, and as you said, an overwhelming majority, 93%, are reported to have supported the secession move, according to RIA news agency. And another Russian agency reported that voter turnout stood at more than 80%, and this just in, with 50% of votes counted. The Crimean Electoral Commission says 95% actually said they support joining Russia. The final vote count to come in a little bit later today. The referendum, however, has been boycotted by some Crimeans, largely and most notably by ethnic Tatars, who make up 12% of the peninsula's population. Meanwhile, voices from the Ukrainian capital of Kiev, as well as the international community, have expressed their resolve not to accept the vote's outcome. Kiev also announced plans to defend the nation with its now 20,000-strong National Guard if and when Crimea's government declares its independence. The motion will move on to Russia's parliament, which is expected to decide whether or not to accept it on Friday. And new information this morning on the search to locate Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Investigators now say that they believe someone on board had disabled one of the plane's communication systems before the plane's transponder fell off of air traffic control's radar. The Associated Press reports the aircraft and communications addressing and reporting system was shut down about 40 minutes after takeoff. That's about 14 minutes before the final words from the cockpit, "All right, good night." And earlier on Saturday, Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak said evidence suggested that someone deliberately diverted the plane and continued to fly for about 6 hours. Authorities have searched the homes of the jetliner's pilots over the weekend without saying whether they found any definitive evidence. Meanwhile, the scope of the search has expanded significantly, as the plane could be anywhere from Kazakhstan to the Indian Ocean. To find it, the number of countries involved in search operations grew on Sunday from 14 to 25. And more than 100 people have been killed in Nigeria after Fulani Muslim herders razed 3 Christian villages over the weekend. Nigeria's Middle Belt has seen years of competition for land and water between Christian farmers and Fulani Muslim herders. The chief of Chenshi village said gunmen killed the pastor's wife and children and some 50 others in his village alone, adding that another village to the south was set ablaze. More than 100 were also killed last week in similar attacks in nearby Katsina State. And beginning Monday, Parisians will be limited to driving on alternate days. This as the French capital city has been choking on pollution, almost rivaling that of Beijing. Paris saw particulate levels hit 180 micrograms per cubic meter on Friday, more than double the safety limit of 80. For 5 days and running, air pollution levels have exceeded safety levels, triggering government officials to limit Parisians to driving only every other day. Free public transport will continue to be offered following its introduction last Friday.
a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 85th Seoul International Marathon, which took place on Sunday. Of course, with participants running the 42.195 kilometers from Seoul's Gwanghwamun Square to Jamsil Sports Complex. It was Ethiopia's Jakob Jarso Kintra who won the men's race with a final time of 2 hours, 6 minutes and 17 seconds. Meanwhile, over on the women's race, Hela Kiprop of Kenya finished first with a final time of 2 hours, 27 minutes and 29 seconds. And moving over to the ISG Short Track World Championships in Montreal, Canada, where South Korea's Park Seung-hee continues to dominate the ice weeks after the Sochi Winter Games. After winning 2 gold medals and a bronze during Sochi was the 500-meter women's event, where she came in with a final time of 42.792 seconds to finish first for a gold medal, beating out Elise Christie of Great Britain, who previously caused her to finish with a bronze medal back in Sochi. And over to baseball, where Yoon Sung-min made his spring training debut on Sunday against the New York Yankees. And not a bad start, as he came in relief and gave up just 1 hit, while retiring the next 3 batters in a scoreless relief in his Orioles debut. Well, now moving on, the new season of Formula One racing took place over the weekend, and the final results looked nothing like what we saw in the 2013 season. With Sebastian Vettel looking to win his 5th straight title this season, the Red Bull driver retires late in the race. But it was Nico Rosberg of Mercedes who came in first, winning his 4th race of his career, followed by Kevin Magnussen of McLaren and Jenson Button of McLaren as well. Meanwhile, not a good day for Red Bull Racing, as Daniel Ricciardo was disqualified for breaching fuel consumption rules, which the team plans to appeal. And with that, the 2014 Sochi Paralympics came to a close, with Russia claiming the most number of medals in total, with 30 gold medals, 28 silvers, and 22 bronze, for a total of 88 medals. Meanwhile, Korea failed to win a single medal in the event, but can all look forward to Pyeongchang 4 years later. Now with that, moving over to some Sunday's K-League Classic action. The Suwon Samsung Blue Wings drew against Hangju Sangmu 2-2 in a high-scoring match, with Jeju United pulling away with a 2-1 victory against the Jeonnam Dragons. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the Ulsan Hyundai Tigers go up against Gyeongnam FC. Of course, going into the match here, now a lot of attempts, but no goals in the first half of the match, as both teams go scoreless after the first half of the match. But here comes the goals in the second half, as Kim Chi-gon finds the back of the net in the 62nd minute as Ulsan goes up 1-0. Just 3 minutes later, here's Kim Shin-wook. This time, let's make that 2-0 Ulsan. And the goals just keep coming, but in the 70th minute, Woo Ju-sung, wait, that's an own goal, 3-0 Ulsan, and that's your final score. And now over to Game 3 of the KBL's first-round playoff series between the KT Sonic Boom and Incheon Itilan Elephants. Now a rather low-scoring game from the start, as KT takes a 15-8 lead before going into halftime with a 36-22 lead. Despite the low-scoring game, KT continues to run away with the game in the second half before a late rally by Incheon in the 4th quarter of the game. But thanks to Cho Sung-min's 19 points, KT hangs on to take a 2-1 lead with a 75-64 win. And finishing things off in the V-League, where Hyundai Hillstate beat the struggling Korea Expressway in straight sets 3-0. Meanwhile, with Korean Air Jumbos taking on Russian Cash Vespet, let's take a look at the highlights. Now, Korean Air Jumbos already clinching 3rd place in the regular season. They bring out their 2nd string, as Russian Cash takes advantage of it with a 25-18 first set win. But things changed in the next 3 sets, as the Jumbos managed to sweep the next 3 sets as they beat the 6th place Vespets 3-1. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Well, due to toxic smog, the air quality was poor in most regions over the weekend, but it was so warm. And not surprisingly, some areas hit highest temperatures of the month, and it looks like warmer temperatures should continue today. But it seems like when the temperatures get relatively warmer than norms, the toxic smog dives in. So that means we'll also have to deal with high level of toxic air today. But thankfully, we have rain in store nationwide, though this morning we are starting out under mostly sunny skies. Then clouds will develop as we go into the afternoon, then start to drop showers later in the day. And it will start from the western parts of the country, then spread to other regions overnight. So that should wash away dusty in the air. But also this rain will drag down the temperatures a few notches for next couple of days. And for today, we'll also have lots of sun to start out the day with pleasant morning temperatures. The morning lows in Seoul and Gwangju start out at 7, and afternoon highs will be 18 and 20 respectively, while Daegu tops out at 21 and Busan gets up to 17. Now for other regions, it looks like down on Jeju will climb up to 18 and Daejeon will climb up to 20, while the top temperature on Mount Kumgang will be at 5 this afternoon. Now be sure to have a small umbrella handy for your evening commute, and hope you have a wonderful day.
Well, thank you very much, Jion, for the weather there. And those are the stories we have for you at this hour. Korea Today is coming up in about 30 minutes' time, and we'll be back at the same time tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.